Hi everyone, welcome to this lecture. Today we're going to be talking about body weight and functional training, and I'm sure this is something which is interesting for a lot of you out there, especially with the introduction of training protocols like calisthenics and so on. So it is out there quite a bit, but today we're going to look at what is the right way to do it, how do you do it, whom do you do it with, when is the time to do it, and most importantly, how do you also prevent any sort of injuries as you do it. So let's get started right away. So in today's lecture, there are three important topics that I would like to cover when it comes to body weight and functional training. First is the foundation of body weight training. Second is about how do you bridge daily activities and fitness into functional training. And last would be about the synergizing effects of body weight and functional training. First and foremost, the foundation of body weight training. Well, early on, if we think about during the ancient times when there were soldiers and warriors, I'm sure that they didn't have access to a commercial gym like how we have today. So how do you think they trained? Well, they primarily depended on their body weight to train. Just like how these days we do things like squats and push-ups and things like that. Back then I'm sure they had their own ways of being innovative and creative, of either using their own body weight or sometimes even just using implements that are around them. But yes, it definitely would have been far less structured than what it is today in terms of the equipment available for us. So over a period of time, as there were more equipments that were developed, as the accessibility for people towards gym increased, people started depending more on equipment. But nonetheless, early on, body weight and functional training was far more common than what it is today. Nonetheless, it is still a very effective way to train, and we will look into that today. Well, what are the benefits when it comes to body weight exercises? First and foremost, like I said, no equipment required, which means anyone can really do it. You don't need access to any fancy equipment, you don't need access to a gym, you don't even have to sometimes leave your house if you want to do any sort of body weight training. Second thing is, even the space required for body weight training is very minimal. Unless you're doing some sort of running activity, most body weight exercises can be done if you have enough space to maybe just put a yoga mat on the floor. That's all it takes. So this is again a huge benefit for people who are maybe, let's say, living in certain smaller houses or who are sharing rooms with someone. You don't really have to worry about having an entire room to yourself. All you need is just a little bit of space. Now when we talk about body weight training, a very important point is the idea of progression. So a progression is nothing more than a slightly more difficult version of the existing exercise. The opposite of that would be a regression, which is an easier version, right? So with body weight exercises, the effectiveness that you get is based on how you can progress from one variation to another. A very simple example would be, let's say that you have a particular client who is new to the gym. You can't directly start them off with a full push-up because their body might not have the upper body and core strength to actually do the movement, not just in an effective way but also in a injury-free manner, right? So you would probably regress and start off with something as simple as, let's say, a wall push-up, where just lean against a wall, they do push-ups. As they get stronger, as they get more comfortable, you can get them to do a knee push-up, where they go down into like a push-up position, but the difference is the knees are on the floor. So then there is less weight to carry, it becomes easier. Once they master that, then only you take them onto a full body push-up. So this is sort of how we look at progressions, and when it comes to body weight exercises, it is that much more important to understand these progressions and regressions, because unlike using equipment, we cannot vary the load. When we are doing a squat, maybe instead of doing like 50 kgs, we can always do 40 kgs, or we can increase it to 60. But when you're doing a body weight squat, you cannot change your body's weight, right? You cannot make yourself way heavier or way lighter in order to make an exercise easy. So there, these progressions and regressions are going to make you better and make sure that the right exercises are being done at the right fitness levels. So that is why progressions and regressions would be of utmost importance, especially when it comes to body weight and functional training. Now there is also a lot of versatility and adaptability. Like I said, you may be someone who regularly goes to the gym, but on a particular day, if you don't have access to the gym, let's say it's raining outside or you're traveling for work and you can't go to the gym, what do? The next best alternative is the body weight training program that you can follow. So in the gym, maybe if you're used to doing 10 reps or 50 kg squats, maybe when you don't have access to a gym, you do body weight exercises like maybe a body weight squat, 20 repetitions instead, maybe 3 sets, right? So you will have to adjust the number of sets and reps a little bit to make sure that you're reaching the right intensity, but nonetheless it is a great option as well. Similarly, in addition to this, it can also be quite useful if you're able to do the right progressions or regressions. If you want to make an exercise tougher, do more reps, maybe give yourself lesser break, maybe change the tempo. So instead of taking 3 seconds to go down, take 5 seconds to go down. Maybe have some isometric holds in between. So instead of going down continuously, maybe stop in between, go down, stop at a range, go down. All of these are also considered progressions. It's not that just that the exercise itself has to be more difficult. Within the same exercise, you can play around with these variables to make things more difficult or easy, and that's why bodyweight exercises are also highly versatile in this way. Now, examples of fundamental bodyweight exercises are some of it which I have mentioned. First, you have your bodyweight squats, then you have your push-ups, you have your pull-ups. These are often the 3 most common ones which are out there. But even for these exercises, there are a lot of variations within them. For a push-up, you can have your diamond push-up, you can have your close arm push-up, you can have your knee push-ups, wall push-ups. For a squat, you can have your full squat, your half squat, your quarter squat. You can have eccentric squats, eccentric with isometrics. Similarly, pull-ups also, you have different grip positions, and all of these will make sure that the body gets different adaptations by working on different muscles or by putting load on certain muscles more than others. Some variations are also more easier than others, and so you can adjust it accordingly. But other than this, in terms of certain other bodyweight exercises, the plank, again a very fundamental exercise when we talk about doing anything bodyweight for the core, not just in terms of your abs but even your obliques and your lower backs. You can do your lunges, you can do forward lunges, reverse lunges, lateral lunges, plenty of options out there. It's all about how you can be creative, and with the advent of the internet today, there's no shortage of finding information out there in terms of what exercises can be done. But like I said, always use your common sense and logic when you decide what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how much you want to do it for. Now coming to functional training. So as I had mentioned in one of the other lectures, functional training is not this mysterious set of exercises which is meant to just make you a world-class athlete or make you fit like a world-class athlete. At the end of the day, sometimes there is this misconception where people believe that functional training is supposed to help you in your sport more closely, or the transference is greater to the sport, or the transference is greater to your day-to-day life. But that's not really the case. If you think about it, any exercise that you do is meant to help you improve your overall health, improve your performance in the kind of activity you want to do, whether it's a sport or your daily life. So it's not that bodyweight training is not going to help you in your sport or your daily life. It's going to help you just as much as any sort of functional training might be. It's just that when we talk about functional training, it is generally more of compound exercises that is involved in sort of functional exercises. So that could be things like your squat and push-ups and all of it. And the role of these compound movements is to make sure that you're teaching your body how to use the different muscles and the different joints in the right sequence. This is very, very important, especially if you're an athlete who's engaging in different sports. For any given sport, there is a lot of movement patterns that are there, and it is important for you to understand how these movements actually occur by slowing it down. Let's take the simple example of maybe, let's say, a badminton smash. Now for a badminton smash, if I were to sort of get into position and show you the swinging action that's there, it might look like a very simple action. You're just standing and then you're swinging. You get into position, you swing. Now this simple action actually is more complex than you think. Initially you're getting into position. Then as you turn, the shoulder comes into play. There is extension from the elbow, and then there is extension from the wrist, which is then sort of hitting the shuttle. So this entire movement has to also be done in sequence. It's not enough that you actually just extend everything at once. If you do that, what's going to happen is from here is just extension. That's not what a badminton stroke is like. You start with the shoulder, then go into the elbow, and then into the wrist, and then you contact the shuttle. So this sequential movement is something which the body has to actually learn. It's a technical skill, but simultaneously, even in the gym, if you're able to do compound movements at the right time for the right people, it can help them learn how to actually function in a particular sequence. And not just that, it also makes it easier because it targets multiple muscles at once. When you do a squat, it's not only the quadriceps or only the glutes or only the hamstrings that are working. All of these muscles are being activated at the same time in a particular sequence. Now when we come to incorporating functional moves and the benefits of functional training for demographics, like I spoke about earlier, it's all about what is the requirement for a person. Sometimes if for a senior citizen, if their whole idea is to be able to independently get up from a chair without the use of a walking stick or without the use of maybe someone helping them to stand up, them doing maybe, let's say, start them off with just 3 chair squats, where you're putting a chair, preferably a higher one. They just have to sit on the chair, they have to get off the chair, sit on the chair, get off, maybe just 3 repetitions, 5 sets, right? They do this for a period of time until they're comfortable. Over a period of time, they might be able to do maybe more repetitions, they might be able to do it with lesser support. Now for that person, considering their goal, this is a functional exercise because it is helping them function in the activity that they want to get better at. Maybe for an athlete, it could be something else. Maybe for a child, it could be something else. So functional exercise and any sort of movements that you're trying to incorporate fully depends on what is their requirement either in their sport or their day-to-day life, and that's how you need to decide what exercises to do and what is the purpose behind each of it. Now in this one, we're going to talk about synergizing body weight and functional training. So it is important to address different fitness goals. You need to understand what is the purpose of doing it and how do you exactly apply it to the needs of an athlete or a client that you're working with. Now for a particular athlete, let's say that you don't have access to a gym, right? Maybe during the COVID time that was there were a lot of athletes who had to actually work indoors just within the confines of their home. Some of them were able to do it successfully, some of them not so much, right? Now we're going to be talking about synergizing body weight and functional training. So like I said, it is important to address different fitness goals based on the athlete and their requirements. For example, during the COVID time and when the lockdown was going on, there were many athletes who were not able to train properly, and all of them had to resort to body weight training or had to train with whatever is available within the confines of their home. Some of them did it well, some of them not so much, right? But all of them had to find a way. So this is where I feel that a lot of people actually understood the benefits of body weight training because they were forced to be innovative at that point of time. Not just the person, but even the trainers who they were working with. Because with the advent of gyms, I think clients as well as trainers to a certain extent had become so dependent on equipment that they almost forgot that it's possible to train without equipment. Now I'm not saying that every single thing can be a replacement or that every single thing that you do in the gym can be replicated with the same effectiveness purely through body weight, but to a large extent for the majority of the population it definitely can be done. So understand your client, understand their requirements and then decide how exactly you want to integrate this. Like I said, most body weight exercises and functional exercises are going to be compound exercises, which means they use multiple joints and muscles, and so understanding what these muscles are going to do in terms of their movement patterns and how this is going to affect their lifestyle would be key in creating an effective program. When it comes to real world applications and success stories, I think like I said, during the lockdown that could be a pretty big eye opener for most people when they really understood that they can get fitter even if they don't have access to a fancy gym. Maybe not every single thing might be as easy as it is in a gym, but if you are able to understand how your body works, if you are able to understand what muscles are responsible for what movements, if you know how to create the right kind of program as a trainer, I'm sure you'll still be able to deliver an excellent program to a client even if they may not have access to a gym. That access may be for a short duration of period of time or it could be for a long one. Yes, in certain cases I have had to tell certain athletes that right now you don't have access to a gym, but don't worry. It's about giving them that reassurance that you can still make progress at least to a certain extent within the confines of their home, after which they may still need access to a gym. So I think when it comes to success stories and real world applications, I think our lockdown period that all of us had to go through would be the biggest example of how effective body weight and functional training really can be. Last but not the least, talking a little bit about injury prevention and rehabilitation, there isn't anything new that we have not already discussed when we talk about injury prevention in some of our other lectures. But like I said, when it comes to body weight, be smart enough to understand the right regression, the correct exercises and its corresponding progressions, and know which level an athlete or a client is in. And it's also important to understand that maybe for example for an upper body exercise you might be doing a regression. That doesn't mean that even the lower body has to be a regression. Maybe if their legs are stronger, you can move them to a progression. So understanding this idea that different muscles are responsible for different movements will help you understand which exercises need to be regressed and which exercise needs to be progressed. In addition to this, the common injury prevention protocols like doing a correct warm up, doing a correct cool down, doing it with the right technique, avoiding exercises that bring pain can be applied even when it comes to body weight and functional training. So I hope that this lecture has helped you understand what exactly is bodyweight training and functional training, how it can be useful for your athletes, and what are the do's and don'ts when it comes to actually training an athlete effectively and also safely. I'll see you in the next one.